the news in detail as we begin with President Muhammadu Buhari's return to Abuja after his medical vacation in the United Kingdom, promising to sustain efforts at enhancing national unity, stability and prosperity. The president, who spoke to NTA News at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, described his trip for medical trip checkup as fulfilling. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has details.
President Muhammadu Buhari alighted the Nigerian Air Force 001 aircraft that brought him from London at 4:45 Thursday evening. On hand to receive him at the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport were the Ministers of Defense Bashir Magashi and that of the FCT Muhammad Musa Bello, the Chief of Staff to the President Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and the National Security Advisor Babagana Munguno. Others include the service chiefs led by the Chief of Defense Staff, the new Acting Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali, the Director General, Department of State Services, Yusuf Magaji Bichi, and other senior government officials. Speaking to NTA News shortly on arrival, President Buhari said his reported medical checkup went well and indeed fulfilling. So having been refreshed after your well-deserved rest in London, what will Nigerians expect from your administration going forward?
Continuity.
While in London, you appointed the new Inspector General of Police. What do you expect from him?
He knows his job. He has been in it for a long time. He went through all the training. He has the necessary experience. So we have high expectations from him.
Before you traveled to London, you met twice with the new EFCC chairman. What have been your instructions to him? What did you tell him?
I can't tell you what I tell EFCC chairman. Next question.
Are you satisfied with the performance of the new service chiefs, Your Excellency?
Oh, yes. They have been in the system all the way. They know what is wrong. They know what is right. And I think they are doing their best. I hope their best will be good enough for Nigeria.
President Buhari spent 15 days in London, the British capital, during the visit, which was his first since January 2020. In Abuja, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Vice President, Yemi, has called on world leaders to take into account the principle of fairness which he advocates must be applied to leaders in addressing challenges in health, the economy and other issues. This was at a virtual forum organized by an American university, Liberty University, with the theme Equity for Africa, Transforming the World Through Judeo-Christian Values. The Vice President notes that in building a fairer world that takes into account the interests of the poor, the marginalized, and a world that does not impose unfair burdens on developing countries, it is imperative that leaders must be fair to all. He also called on some multilateral agencies planning to defund gas projects to review their position, noting that it is worrisome and should be dropped.
One of the things that we want to do, especially those of us in the developing countries that are gas-producing countries, is that we think that it may be unfair to defund gas projects as is suggested by already, as a matter of fact, some of the multilateral institutions are defunding gas projects because they think that this would accelerate the progress towards zero emissions. Well, we think that a fair transition from fossil fuels to cleaner fuels, or for that matter, to non-fossil fuel based energy, would involve allowing gas projects, especially in countries such as ours, in a phased process, that will lead eventually to only renewable energy.
Speaking about the prospect for greater advancement in Africa, the Vice President noted that there was no gainsaying that in order for Africa to actualize its potential, it must work with friends, particularly those of faith, to identify strategic opportunities to bring about growth and prosperity in the continent. Now, the Senate Committee on Establishments and Public Services assured the National Pension Commission that it will interface with key government officials to clear pension liabilities to ensure prompt payment of pensions. This assurance was given at an oversight to the Commission by members of the committee. Dayo Ogunshola reports.
The visit was in continuation of the committee's oversight to agencies of government, explaining efforts being put in place by PENCOM to ease the burden of pension liability in Nigeria. Director General of the Commission affirmed that more grants have been covered.
There's also the lack of payment on the pension protection levy. It's not only government that pays that. Government just pays 1% of its total monthly wage bill. PENCOM contributes towards the payment and the operators. So PENCOM has been keeping money aside, and the operators also have been. But it has not taken off because government has not paid its own 1%. So that's another problem.
If I were to be the president, I see agencies being given 11 billion. I think I'll be surprised if they complain. But if I know what is outstanding, then I'll appreciate that 11 billion is a far cry from what should be given. So I think we're going to facilitate this through the leadership.
At the Federal Civil Service Commission, an overview of the Commission's activities was presented, with requests for more legislative supports.
This Commission will appreciate any intervention from this august committee that will increase the size of our capital envelope, as well as streamline the process of appointments, promotion and discipline of officers into the public service.
Members of the committee raised concerns on issues relating to unemployment, promotion of civil servants, with a resolve for more collaborative efforts. In Abuja, Dayo Ogunshola, NTA News.
A successful fight against drug trafficking and other related drug dealings will in no small way help in reducing funding for insurgency. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed stated this when he granted audience to the chairman of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, General Buba Marwa, retired in Abuja. Details with Anthony Forson.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, while commending the NDLEA chairman for the successes recorded in his 3 months in office, said with the rate the agency is clamping down on drug traffickers around the country, there is hope that Nigeria may soon overcome some of the security challenges it is facing.
It is common knowledge that drug money can be used and is being used to finance insurgency and terrorism. A successful fight against drug trafficking will therefore help to deny or reduce funding for terrorism and insurgency.
The minister assured the NDLEA chairman of his readiness to partner with the agency by supporting its drug war with enlightenment and advocacy.
It will not be out of place for the ministry working with the NDLEA to launch a national campaign against drug trafficking and use of illicit drugs.
Lai Mohammed, however, commended General Buba Marwa for raising the bar of the agency, which has attracted global support and commendation in its drug war. Chairman of the agency, General Buba Marwa, told the minister that Nigeria is faced with a crisis of drug dependency, as over 15 million Nigerians are hooked on it, a figure that translates to 1 in every 7 Nigerians, with 25% of them females.
Recently, I'm happy to say, through our intelligence-based operations, we were able to arrest some of these drug traffickers, one who is Nigerian and another Chadian, who are supplying drugs to the insurgents and the bandits. Those are still with us, and the investigation to get to the root of the trafficking chain is in process.
He said in 3 months, the agency has intercepted drugs and cash worth 75 billion naira, arrested over 2,000 traffickers, prosecuting about 5,000 cases, and secured 300 convictions. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Also, Anthony Forson reports that Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has described Twitter's announcement to open its African office in Ghana and not in Nigeria as a lesson Nigerians must learn to understand that promoting negativity about one's country always comes with a price. He was speaking during an interview with newsmen in Abuja.
Apart from the announcement of opening its office in Ghana, it also announced that it is looking into hiring local designers, engineers, marketers as part of its new expansion. When asked of his reaction to the Twitter option of Ghana and not Nigeria, which has 25 million Twitter users as against Ghana with just 8 million, the minister said Nigerians are to be blamed for the negative information they broadcast about the country.
This is what you get when you demarket your own country. The pastime of most Nigerians, especially the media, is to find fault with their own country. Most times exaggerate the challenges the country is facing. And at no time was this better seen as during the NSAS protest, where Nigerian journalists, both, traditional and the new media, were trying to outdo themselves in painting Nigeria as a hell where nobody should live, where they all conspired to vilify not just the government, even the people of Nigeria. And I thank God that the last US report has vindicated the government that no single life, that there's no corroboration of any evidence that anybody was killed at the Lekki toll gate, as opposed to what the majority of the media are championing. I think this will teach all of us a lesson, that you have no country but Nigeria. We are not saying that you should not criticize this country, but be fair.
He said nations that attract goodwill is often propelled by the patriotism of its citizens. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Minister of Power Sali Maman has assured Nigerians that relevant agencies under the ministry are working assiduously to fix technical problems in some affected power plants that resulted to shortage of electricity supply in parts of the country. While regretting the inconveniences the power shortage has caused, the minister says he's optimistic that the national grid will bounce back to its peak of 5,600 megawatts of electricity earlier achieved at the beginning of the year. And recall that parts of the country have been experiencing power outages as a result of breakdown of some power generating plants for reasons including gas constraints. The Minister of Power assures that all the challenges will soon be rectified. We now take a break. We have more reports when we return. News at 10 is broadcast live on NTA News 24. The Emir of Yauri, Dr. Mohammed Zianu Abdullahi, has commended President Muhammadu Buhari for ensuring successful takeoff of Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission to address ecological challenges of communities affected by construction of hydroelectric dams. The Emir disclosed this when he received the governing council of the commission at his palace in Yauri. Abdullahi Umar Ilalu was there.
River Niger traversed through the three local government areas of Yauri Emirate, hosting over 70% of water reservoir for the operations of Kainji Hydroelectric Dam. This is not without a price, as the Emirate lost a lot of economically viable islands and other socio-economic potentials to the construction of the dam without corresponding benefits. The Emir said although the act establishing the dam spelled out special projects for the affected communities, such as Inland Port, Ring Road, dredging of River Niger, and small boat industry, among others, none was executed.
As the climate justice now, we hope this board will wipe up our case. We perform according to our expectations. We are not saying that other people, we just want justice to be done to our enemies. We are not saying that other people will do as we do. We want justice. You read it and see what has the suffering of the people.
Dr. Muhammad Zayano Abdullahi urged the Governing Council to quickly look at these issues to reduce the continued monumental loss of life and property from flood and other ecological challenges. Earlier, the Chairman Governing Council Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission, Joseph Itiav, informed the monarch that the commission is aware of most of these challenges and will deploy available resources in changing the narratives. Ablah Umar Illalu, NTA News.
Now, to curb cases of buildings collapse in Nigeria, new entrants in architecture profession have been urged to uphold ethics and standards in the discharge of their duties. This formed the crux of lectures delivered at the 10th induction ceremony that were recently registered for recently registered architects and architectural firms and technologists in Abuja. Details with Ekene Ndulue.
Protect the right and confidentiality of those I work with.
I pledge to protect the right and confidentiality of those I work with.
And those I serve.
And those I serve.
For the inductees, this ceremony means more than just a formality. It is more like a dream come true, as they are now qualified to practice as architects.
It means that I can now legally practice architecture in Nigeria. It means that I can also train others to come up and follow from our path, so that in the future when we leave, they can take over from us and be architects as well.
Well, today I feel great achieving this, being a registered architect in the book of Akon.
Executives of Architects Registration Council of Nigeria took turns to educate the inductees on the need for periodic trainings and adherence to the codes of the profession. They say part of measures introduced to curb issues of buildings collapsed include the Akon Project Registration Number System, which raises the standard of building approvals.
The society too should be able to ask questions whether somebody you want to engage is a registered architect or not. Anybody that parades himself as an architect or a medical doctor or a pharmacist that are not qualified is on his own. And if such a person is captured or is arrested or reported to the regulatory body, of course, he or she will be disciplined.
In Abuja here, it is already 100% successful because there is no design that is submitted without APRN. And this APRN has helped in doing away with quacks, not only in architectural profession, but even in other professions.
In the last 3 years, we've registered 793 new architects into the fold, and it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented because it's not a profession where you have too many people.
The regulatory body promises to work towards increasing the number of registered practitioners in Nigeria with the intent to check quackery in the profession. In Abuja, Ekene Ndulue, NTA News.
Many thanks for that report. Now, the pen is mightier than the sword, so the saying goes. And it's upon this premises that an online dialogue on the intersection of the mass media, national security and civic space was held with a view to reducing security challenges both on the internet and around the country at large. Defense correspondent Naja'atu Tijani tells us more.
Battling insecurity on land, air and sea, Nigeria is also faced with another battle: fake news and hate speech, which can go viral on the internet. Stakeholders at this online summit on security, moderated by former legislator Nena Okiji, agreed that this wrongful use of the media needs to be reversed in order to promote peace and unity necessary for security to thrive.
Could destabilize national security and civil space in many developing countries where citizens' orientation is dismal and security agencies do not have the adequate work tools to contend with such crises.
The more than hour-long meeting ends with a call to take a people-centered approach to national security by integrating the three spheres and educating the public about proper rules of engagement while using the internet. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
And the Nigerian Air Force has signed a memorandum of understanding with 2 indigenous organizations to promote research and development in local content and reduce overdependence on foreign technology. Again, here is Defense correspondent Naja'atu Tijani with the details.
An Alpha Jet undergoing in-country periodic depot maintenance, a service which used to be done overseas, costing the federal government of Nigeria millions of naira. With the directive to promote indigenous technology and patronize local content, the Nigerian Air Force has trained technicians to service its jets and partnered with indigenous companies to produce parts for some of its equipment, a process which is ongoing. Expanding this trend, the Nigerian Air Force is also partnering with the Industrial Training Fund and another organization for the training of personnel and also security systems.
The speech of the Chief of the Air Staff. The collaborative efforts also provide platforms to synergize ideas for innovations that are key to achieving meaningful results, to resolve the technological challenges we currently face in a cost-effective manner.
The Memorandum of Understanding we have just signed, to my mind, will establish the framework by which our two parties will work together in an effort to nurture a cooperative relationship.
The Nigerian Air Force currently has 32 active MOUs with various organizations, agencies and universities nationwide. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
Relative normalcy has returned to Damasak in Mubarak local government area of Borno State after a series of attacks on a section of the community by Boko Haram insurgents. Residents resumed their daily activities with the military patrolling various parts of the town to ensure peace and security. Maimuna Garba reports.
Nigerian Army has enjoined residents of Damasak and adjoining communities to remain calm as mop-up operations by troops are ongoing to flush out terrorists who attacked a section of the town yesterday, Wednesday. The commander, 5th Brigade Damasak Brigadier General S.S. Tilawan, is personally leading patrols within the town to reassure residents that the areas are safe for them to continue with their normal activities. The commander, 5th Brigade, is also in the town on assessment of the general situation following the attack by the terrorists who sneaked into the town from the northern flank in active collaboration of some local informants.
So, gentlemen, today is 15th of April. Everything is working in Damasak.
A statement made available to newsmen in Maiduguri by the Director Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Mohammed Yerima, indicates that troops of the Nigerian Army effectively repelled the attack on Damasak and are in total control of the general area. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
And in Ebonyi State, a multi-governmental collaboration is in the works to boost security in the state after pockets of security-related incidents were witnessed in some parts of Ebonyi State. Ijoma Pitanwete reports on some of the measures being put in place.
Joining efforts with the federal government to ensure that the country wins the war against insurgency and other forms of criminalities, Ebonyi State government has continually enhanced the welfare of security agencies in the state, providing them with more logistics for easy operations.
The state governor is doing everything possible to ensure that the protection of life and property is well maintained.
Also, as part of the federal government's commitment towards security of lives and properties in the state, Vice President Yemi recently visited the state to ascertain level of damages in crisis-ridden areas and communities attacked by alleged bandits.
Let me assure you that we will seek justice on behalf of those who have died, not just because they are Nigerians, but because they are human beings and they deserve justice.
The State Commissioner for Peace and Internal Security, Stanley Okoro, said the CCTV cameras installed at all the boundaries in Ebonyi State ensure proper surveillance around the boundaries.
He can view what is happening in all the borders from his office and from our server room.
The government has also deployed the services of a civilian security outfit, talking about the neighborhood watch.
There is a call on Nigerians as a matter of national service and good citizenship to rise and support President Buhari's efforts to achieve his vision of a crime-free Nigeria. In Abakaliki, Ijoma Peter Wante, NTA News.
We still have more security reports after this time out. Stay tuned.